Hi, everyone. You're tuned in to Savvy, the show featuring entrepreneurs, authors, and people with a passion. I am your host, Kathleen Driver, and I'd like to welcome my guest this evening, Gail Ellis. Gail is the author of a book called An Old Chick Named Hazel, a practical guide to help seniors live independently, and also a blog by the same name. Welcome, Gail. Thank you so much for coming today. And before we talk about An Old Chick Named Hazel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, well, first let me say thank you, Kathy,
Absolutely.
for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here to
Thank
talk
you.
about these things.
Thank you.
They're very passionate to me.
I can tell you're very passionate about it. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Gail Ellis, and I'm a retired federal employee.
Wow,
I was in the
okay.
communications arena for quite a long time, and as I was creeping up on retirement, I started thinking about some things that I might like to do, and one of the things I was interested in and just didn't feel like enough had really been addressed was caregiving. And at the time, I was I've taken care of my mother, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and a few others.
Wow,
And
wow.
so I wanted to try to find something that I could do with that. So I also, at the same time, was raising young
Children.
grown girls now,
Mhm.
and just keeping up with being married, working, being a manager,
Just doing it all,
raising,
right?
and caregiving.
Wow, wow.
So that's part of my background.
Okay, okay. And so you brought your book, An Old Chick Named Hazel.
I did. This
And
is
I love
An
the
Old Chick
title
Named
because
Hazel.
it's a very catchy title. But
Thank you.
also, for folks that know me, may remember that my mother's name was Hazel. So while this book is not about my Hazel or any particular Hazel, it is a very catchy title. Tell us why you named the book An Old Chick Named Hazel.
Okay, so with the people that I have done caregiving for, in particular when I was writing it, I had my mother looking at it. And she said, well, you can write this book, Gail, but just don't use my real name. And I said, okay, Mom, I won't use your real name, but I need to come up with a name. So I thought about all the people that I was taking care of.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was in common amongst all of them, as I was trying to figure out what to name the book, is that they all were sort of hazel colored. They had
Oh,
hazel
okay.
colored
Hazel
skin.
complexion.
Hazel
Oh, wow.
complexion.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I decided that I would take all the people I've worked with, put it all together,
Together
and
and,
came up with
there we are with An
Hazel.
Old Chick
An
Named
Old Chick
Hazel.
Named
I love that. I love that. So it is a practical guide to help seniors live independently. Tell us some of the biggest challenges that you think seniors are facing in terms of being able to live independently.
Well, I worry about resources, and I worry about the resources being available, particularly when you don't have a lot of family here. And so, for me, one of the biggest challenges is that when I was taking care of my mother, I have siblings, and everybody wanted to help out. But one sibling lived in Seattle, Washington. The other sibling lived in Boston. The other sibling lived in Atlanta.
Right.
And Mom lived in Florida. I
Wow.
lived in the Washington, D.C. area.
Mm-hmm.
So the resources, making sure that things were available. And so I felt like we really had to get creative about how to help Mom stay in her house, or even when she was visiting with me, stay at home during the day while I was working. And so we had to come up with some creative ways to make that happen.
Okay, okay. And so can you give us some ideas of some helpful hints for people who are in the same situation? That may be either a caregiver now or, they're thinking about, what do I do when I'm faced with the situation, as, parents age, as other family members age. And, like for, certain friends of mine, we're already talking about that. I've been a caregiver. And so, I thought about it even before I was in the situation, like for instance, if my mom or my dad, should need a certain type of care, what would I do? So, what kind of tips would you give someone to proactively plan versus reactively planning? Because reactively planning can be quite expensive.
It
So,
can be, yes. And you find so many people, they realize I need to do something with mom or dad when there's been an incident
right,
and
right,
they're
and
at the
and that's
hospital.
reactive time, because
Absolutely.
hospitals now, since we're on this subject, hospitals now, will discharge someone, you'll come in the hospital with something, like really major, like a heart attack or a stroke, and as soon
Right.
as you're stabilized,
Right.
they're ready to send you home. And you may
Home
not
with
really
care.
have a home that you can go to that's set up, for someone who's had a stroke or for someone who's had a heart
Absolutely.
attack. And so the hospitals don't wait.
No.
They don't wait, for you to prep the home where the person is going. So, what are some ways that folks can kind of proactively plan? I mean, we're not trying to be morbid or anything,
Right.
but, I think it's being practical. So, what are some practical tips, not reactive, but proactive tips that you would recommend for someone?
So one of the things that we had to do because we were all over the country, we knew that we needed to talk. And one of the hardest things to do is to talk to mom about, well, what happens if you get sick? What if you can't live at home?
Right.
Or what if you're by yourself and you just need a little help? What do we do? So one of the things that my siblings and I would do, we would get together and have conference calls.
Oh, good.
And
Okay.
we had mom on the conference call. And we always made sure that
she was part of the
that she was
conversation?
in charge
Okay.
of
Okay.
the conference call because she had a sharp mind. It was great. She knew what she wanted. So we let her sort of be in charge.
Okay.
And
Okay.
during those conference calls, each of the siblings had different roles that we would play. So my older brother, who was in Boston, he handled all the finances. I never had to worry about finances for mom. If she needed something, she'd call him
Okay.
and make sure that everything was taken care of.
Okay.
And then there was my sister in Atlanta. She would, she would take care of sometimes the entertainment for mom. If mom needed to go see family members, go to a family reunion, whatever, she would help out quite a bit with that. And my brother, that's in Seattle, would actually fly in and just come and spend some time, some good companionship time with her.
So I think that's important too, don't
And
you?
Absolutely, you need the companionship. And what
Yes.
was interesting is that she also would make her rounds. So she would spend a month or two in Boston. She'd spend a month or two in Atlanta, in Florida, and with me. So having those conference calls
Helped a
was
lot.
great. Yes.
So, speaking of, we're talking about, helpful tips for those needing care.
Yeah.
And so, having been a caregiver, you've been a caregiver, and caregivers need help too.
Yeah.
So, what are some things that you think are helpful in terms of, what caregivers need? I mean, obviously, when I was in, the situation when, I was caring for my mother, and, I wouldn't trade if anything. I mean, to me, it was a blessing to be able to be in a position to care for my mother when she needed the care. But watching other caregivers, I always tell them, take care of yourself,
Yes.
because if you don't, then you'll find yourself in a situation where you may not be able to continue to provide care for your family member. So, like some of my friends and, my siblings and relatives would come and give me a break. We gave each other a break, because,
Right.
my siblings, they were very much involved as well. So we made sure that we gave each other a break. It was nothing more than, just being able to just go to the store and not have to worry about rushing back home
Right.
or taking a hot bath or, just a treat. I mean, just something that would be a treat.
Absolutely, a hot bath
So
was a
yeah, I mean,
luxury.
so my famous quote is that caregivers need care too.
They do,
So
they do.
what do you say about that in terms of helpful tips? Is there anything in your book or in your blog about what folks can do to help provide support for the caregiver?
Well, and not so much in the book, but in some of the upcoming stories that I write for the blog, you'll see stuff
Okay,
like that.
good.
But one of the things I always found I had to do, because many times I would rush out in the morning, go to work, and rush back home. I just had to take that extra little time. So I found places nearby that were peaceful. Usually peaceful waters, near the ocean, near the bay.
Right, that's a good
someplace that has
idea.
a beautiful view. And sometimes I would just go there, park the car for 15, 20
And
minutes.
just take a moment.
And breathe.
Yeah, and just breathe.
Breathe.
Right.
And that really helped me out a lot. And when I wasn't in the caregiving mode, sometimes I would try to get a vacation in here and there, but not always the easiest thing to do.
Right,
Yeah.
because I mean, you just never can anticipate what might happen.
Exactly.
So it's almost like, do I even plan for the trip, because you can't anticipate if something may occur, with the person you're caring for that may prevent
Absolutely.
you from taking the trip.
Yeah, well, that's
So-
why they have insurance.
That's why they have
Travel
insurance, right?
and
that
other
was
things,
yeah,
yes.
good. I'm glad that
Yes.
you said that.
Absolutely,
That's where I
'cause you
was headed
never
with that,
know.
because you don't know.
Right.
But not to minimize the situation or anybody that's providing care, but life has to go on too for the
It does.
caregiver, and
It does.
as normal as possible, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I was lucky that I was blessed that I had. My husband was very supportive. My daughters were very supportive.
That makes a big difference.
And friends were supportive
That makes
too.
a
They
big
would
difference.
just call me sometimes and check in. So all of that makes a difference. All of that.
I do
Yeah.
believe so too. I mean, again, having been in that situation, so my hats off to you for having done it multiple times.
Thank you.
And so I want to talk about your blog, because
Okay.
it's in alignment with the book.
It is.
And so why did you create the blog? Are you like updating it with more up-to-date tips? Why the blog now?
So a lot of people would approach me and say, I read your book, it's great, it has great tips, but I don't know where to get some of these things. So
Okay.
for example, in one of the blogs that I wrote, it talked about a special type of utensil that you might want to use for somebody who has a hard time picking a fork up, a small fork,
right,
and putting it to your mouth to
Right.
feed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are utensils out there for people who have a hard time, and they usually have a larger handle so that you can use
better
it
grip.
and with a better grip, and then bring the food to your mouth. So a lot of times people would say, well, where do I get these things? And so I decided that I would, since the book had been out for a few years, I decided I would then write a blog and then give them links to the products so
resources.
that they could
Oh,
see it.
good,
And
good,
so,
good,
they
good.
could buy it, through an Amazon. Most of the links are to Amazon. Or they might have it at home already, or they might go someplace else and get it.
Okay. And tell us
But a lot of
tell us the name of your blog so people can find it.
Well, it's the same as the book. It's an Old Chick Named Hazel.com. So if you
Right.
just take the book title,
Okay.
an Old Chick Named Hazel.com,
and just
there
hold
it
up your
is.
book for folks so they can see
Sure,
the cover.
be
And
glad
where
to.
can people find the book?
Well, you can buy the book on Amazon. You can buy it on iTunes.
Okay,
If you
okay.
just Google it, the book, there's a lot of different sellers that are out there. There are some. Right now on Amazon is $7.99, and on other retailers you can get it for around $5,
Okay,
$6.
okay,
So
okay.
look around for it. But you can get it really just by Googling it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's great. So you're doing something else that's interesting that I like, that I
Yeah.
saw on your website, and it's called Arts in the House for Seniors. So tell us about that. You're
Great.
excited about it too, I can tell.
I really am. It's interesting because once you have a passion for something, you start thinking
Isn't that
about
true?
what else
That's
is
true,
needed.
yes.
And so one of the things that took place with some of my people that I did the caregiving for is that they needed something to do. In particular with my mom, she needed something to do. So at one point she was in an assisted living place, and they brought her some things to do, and they were sort of childish activities. And she said, they need to come up with something better. And so I
Right.
did. I talked to the therapist at this place, and they said, I don't know of anything. And so I said, oh, okay. So I started researching it myself and talking to
Okay.
people. I couldn't find much out there. There were a few organizations scattered across the country that were starting to do stuff with arts for seniors, but they normally were at like a senior center or something like that. And so a lot of seniors don't want to leave their home. And so I said, for Mom, I think I'm going to come up with something that she can do in the house and not have to worry about going out to the senior
And it's
center.
age appropriate.
And it's age appropriate. I mean, in the kit, it's an art kit, and it comes with all the materials that you need, so you don't have to leave your home.
Okay. Can you show us? You have it with you. Can you show us what's in there?
Well, there's a number of different activities. So I'll start with first is very colorful.
Okay, let's put this in the middle.
Okay, this very colorful art kit that we have,
Okay.
which is
That is
part
colorful.
of the Arts in the House
Okay.
kit.
Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes I might have a little different kit just depending on what's available. But for the most part, you have your crayons, your paints, your pencils, your markers.
Wow, what are these things
Those
right here?
are paints.
These are paints.
So
Okay, with
all
the brushes.
you need is
Okay.
a little bit of water. You have your oil crayons and your pencils and your markers.
Wow, I want one of these.
Okay. So, what I have are 6 units for a caregiver to use with a senior on topics that are appropriate.
Wonderful.
So some of the topics, particularly with a caregiver, it might be somebody that you haven't always known. And so they need to get to know you.
Right.
So the very first unit that I have is called Getting to Know You.
Okay, and what does that look like?
Well, let me see what I can show you here. This is it. I don't know what you can see.
So we'll just hold it up. I'm not sure, but
from down here.
But where can people get these?
Well, you can get them off my website, artsinthehouse.com.
Okay, artsinthehouse.com.
There's a link to it on the website in Old Chick Named Hazel.
Okay. And so, finish telling us about this.
So on this particular unit, and we don't have to go over all of them, but Getting to Know You gives you an opportunity to make your own Picasso.
Wow,
And
that's
so
beautiful.
each,
so it has all of the
has different
components
questions
in there?
Everything is in there. For
Okay.
this one, you just need the paper and items from the art set. And so you create your own Picasso. And you start by, you say, draw a box for every brother that you have.
Oh, wow.
And so you draw these boxes. So I had 3 boxes. Or draw a triangle for every sister that
So
you have.
did you develop this
I
yourself?
developed it myself.
Wow, I'm impressed. I am impressed. I love that.
So you end up with, I don't know what can be seen here, but you have the black and white where you draw the shapes, and then you fill
fill them in
any way that you want to.
I love that.
And
That's
it actually
beautiful.
tells your life story based on some of the questions that you
Okay,
ask.
and so I noticed there are like 2 big circles. What do they represent?
I
Draw a
have to
large
go-
circle if you have children.
Grandchildren, or
one.
great-grandchildren.
Okay, so those are the 2
a
big
straight
circles.
line if you've ever been
on
on television. Draw a diamond for every degree that you have, high school, college, graduate.
Wow.
So, it gives them a chance to think about their background.
I want one of these too.
Think about their background,
right.
and talk with the caregiver about, this
And
is
I think
me,
it's
this
a
is my
great
life.
I think it's a great tool for the caregiver and the person receiving care to get to know each other.
Oh, absolutely. And so the kit has enough in it for everybody to do at least, for at least 2 people. So
Okay.
if the caregiver wanted to do it with the person that they're giving the care to, they could do that.
Oh, good.
And we
That's
supply
good.
the paper and everything. And then we have other topics also, such as Home Sweet Home.
Okay, and what's
which
that
talks
one?
about your childhood memories.
Okay.
And childhood memories of where you grew up, the type of house that you lived in. We asked the question, did you live in a log cabin?
Right.
Did you live in a mansion? Did you live in an apartment type building? Did you live in a house? What was it like? And then after we asked questions about it, then we asked you to draw a picture of your childhood home. And if you had more than one childhood home, you could draw a picture about whichever one was your favorite. And so the unit actually just sort of makes you think about where you grew up. And in most cases, there's going to be fond memories. And so that's always a good thing
Right.
for the person that you're giving the care to.
And so I see one that says "Time waits for no one." What's that
Time
one?
Waits for No One is all about Passing time. How do you pass time? Because when you're sitting at home, you don't have anything to do.
Right.
What do you
Time
do?
is just
It's so
not moving
important.
very fast. I mean, not that we want to rush time away, but I can imagine if you're sitting at home with absolutely nothing to do and
Watching TV.
and you know, some people don't like to watch TV all day.
And I'm,
You know,
I'm
if
one of those.
right, I mean, if that's something that someone likes to do, I think it's a great thing because, you know, it's engaging. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with TV. I mean, it's engaging and,
Right.
you know, that's your interest. But what if you don't want to do that all day, every day?
Right, right.
So what do? So what does this help them
Well,
do?
we talk, part of the program requires that you just have a lot of socialization and discussion about things with the person that you're taking care of.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you talk a lot about how you actually pass time. You can talk about, what your favorite book is, you know, and things that just pass time. So that's what we have. We have some poems and different things that the caregiver can do with the person that
So
you're
I
taking
see,
care of.
is this, does this have, it says make a bookmark for
Yes.
a good read, bookmark stickers and tassels are included.
Yes, everything is included in the
Wow.
package.
Okay.
I don't know if I can pull it all
Yeah,
out, but I'll certainly
just pull out a few
certainly
pieces.
try. But you get, in this particular one, you have the stickers, and the stickers will vary from package to package, but there's stickers with positive
Oh,
things.
wow. That's
There's
nice.
bookmarks in there. And you know, it's interesting, what I have found with many seniors, they always want to make them for their grandchildren. And they want to give it to them on their birthday. And sometimes they'll order a book to give them
to
with
give
the
them.
bookmark
Very
that
nice.
they have actually
So
made.
people are
So-
still holding books in their hands and reading books, you know, because we're in a digital age now, and a lot of people are just reading books on iPads. And I'm one of those, but I also I just still haven't gone away from, you know, the feel of a
I like the
new
feel
book.
of a
Me
book.
too.
I
Me too.
love
And
the
I
feel
love
of a book.
and I love bookmarks. I think this is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
You have some great ideas,
Well, thank
some
you.
wonderful
Thank
ideas.
you. Thank you. So that's Arts in the House. Is actually 6 units. One that talks about travel, one that talks about people that you love, and another one that sort of brings in work
Okay.
and things that you have done with your hands before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of discussion. It can be done in a group. It can be done, you know, one-on-one. Tell me about something that you've done with your hands. And many of the seniors may say, "Oh, I could bake a great pound cake." And they would talk about how they would do that with their hands. Or some of them are painters. Or some of them have done other things like growing vegetables
Gardens
and flowers, and they do
mhm.
all that with their hands. So
That's
it
great,
gives them a
Gail.
time to talk about that.
I love that, and I can tell that you're just so passionate about it. And I can imagine that it's very well received
It
as
has
well.
been well received. I've had people call me and say, "I need more. I need another unit."
That's
I'm
a
like,
good
"I haven't
thing.
done it yet."
Well, but that's a good problem to
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
you
it
know,
is.
because I could tell that it would be very, very popular. So I'm glad
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
So, so this people can find this on Arts in the House.
artsinthehouse.com.
Okay.
Just remember, seniors want to do arts in the house.
Right. They don't
.com.
want to leave home.
They don't
They
want to
wanna-
leave home.
Okay. And so, can they find this though on your blog site as well, or are
There
they two
is a-
independent?
They are two independent pieces. However, I do have a link
Mm-hmm.
on An Old Chick Named Hazel to the Arts in the House. So,
Okay, okay. So what's next for you? I mean, I love the fact that, have you thought about it? I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of good ideas. And so you started out, let's pull the book back out for a
Okay,
second.
sure.
You don't have to move any of that. I just want to pull this out. So you started out with this great book, An Old Chick Named Hazel, which is a helpful guide to help seniors live independently.
Yes.
And then you followed up with your great blog of the same name, An Old Chick Named Hazel.
Yes.
And then you have your great, wonderful, I
Arts
just can't
in
even
the
believe
House.
all of this, all of these great packets that you have, Arts in the House. So, what's next for
That's a
Gail?
great question. I don't know. I think it's time for me to retire again. But, you know, I want to figure out how I can help seniors. You know, there's a statistic that's out there that says
Yes, that statistic.
by the year 2030, 1 in 5, that's 20% of every person living in the United States is going to be age 65 or older. And that's going to include me. And there's...
I'm afraid to say me too.
I'm telling my
Me too.
age.
I know I'm telling my age too, but yeah, me too. I mean, and so
I
you have
know
to
that
start
there are a
thinking
lot of
about it.
resources out there. I know the federal government is thinking about it. I know that a lot of towns and cities and counties are thinking about what are we going to do for our seniors. And I'm not real sure what my next move is, what this will lead me to, if I just keep promoting this or if I'll work with somebody on something. But I know that there are a lot of resources that we need to come up with for seniors. There are some out there, but there are also some things we need to come up with.
Yes, I agree with that.
I
Because everyone can't afford a 55 plus community where, you know, a lot of, you know, you can get a lot of help in those communities, you know, because they have restaurants on site, you know, your lawn service is included, and some of them are even graduated type of places where you start out independent living, but then when you become dependent, then you graduate into a different area. But I don't know that there are those in the DMV, you know, like that, where you graduate. I know of one or two, but I don't know of a whole lot.
Well, I hear that it's hard to get into some of those places now because there's so many more of us.
There's so many more of us,
coming to age 65.
There's so many more of us, and I don't know that everyone can afford them. That's kind of where I'm headed with that conversation.
Absolutely.
So how, you know, if I were to think of, you know, what I would like to see is I would like to see more affordable, of course, more inventory, but then more affordable inventory as people age in this area and want to stay in this area, because many people leave because they can't afford it.
Because they can't afford it, or they're going back home, you know, to where they may have land, they can build a home, or there's family there that can help to take care of them. So, yeah, there's a lot more that's needed for seniors, for sure.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to look for you. I'm hoping that you'll get out here and help us to resolve this issue. So before we leave, we only got a few more minutes, but I was wondering if you had a favorite passage from an Old Chick Named Hazel, or one that you think is helpful that you could share with us. I know you've done this a lot. So
I have done. Let me see. I think I can probably do this one here. I'll have to put on my glasses because they're not as my eyes are not as young as they used to be.
And mine either. That's why I keep mine on.
Yeah. So one of the stories one of the chapters I have in An Old Chick Named Hazel is, and I also have on the blog, is she can see clearly now. So Hazel gets up often during the night to use the bathroom. So to keep from tripping through the dark, I went to the nearest dollar store and bought several nightlights. We put nightlights in the hall and in the bathroom. And this is a good idea for the kids, too. The nightlights are a lifesaver, literally. The easiest and best lighting to place next to the bed are touch lamps. A touch lamp turns on and off just by touching it with your hand. That means Hazel doesn't have to get up and turn off a light switch. This is especially good since sometimes Hazel falls asleep before she turns off the light. So no more getting up for her in a groggy sleep, uncoordinated, and in a fog to turn off the light on the wall. She can just reach out and touch the lamp. It's also great for when she gets up in the dark. Just reach over and touch the lamp. The touch lamps don't always come on with the first flick of the wall switch. Sometimes you have to flick the switch twice to get the touch lamp to turn on. Or you may need to have another non-touch lamp in the room that works with the wall switch. These are things that I found with Hazel. Putting a timer on a light is also good. Sometimes Hazel will take a nap in the afternoon. I do too. On those short days during the winter, having a timer on the lamp helps to ensure that she doesn't wake up from her nap in the dark just to fumble around to try to get to the light. And now, another word on seeing clearly. Hazel wears reading glasses. She keeps several pairs of reading glasses around the house so she doesn't have to look far to find a pair. And she also uses magnifying glasses and magnifying sheets to read or look at her pictures. Some of the magnifying sheets come with a light, which is great for those dreary days. She also wears a wristwatch that has large numbers on the face, after all, she needs to keep up with the time so she can think about what her children and grandchildren may be doing at that particular moment.
That is so great. Thank you, Gail. I think all of that is very helpful information. And I want to thank you again for coming on to the show and sharing your passion for helping caregivers and the folks that they provide care for. And I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for joining Savvy, the show featuring entrepreneurs, authors, and people with a passion. And I thank my very passionate guest, Gail Ellis. I am your host, Kathleen Driver, and we will see you next week.